Well, that wasn't too cool. Well, we're almost at the first aid station, 4 miles in, and I'm under an hour, so I'm right on pace. And I haven't really pushed it at all, just been walking. So, again, so far so good. Is it possible to complete a 50-mile ultra event without doing any running and training, and just by doing power hiking? Well, that was my experiment for the North Face 50-mile event at Bear Mountain last weekend. Keep watching, I'll let you know how I did. When I signed up for the North Face 50-mile race at Bear Mountain last November or December, my plan was to only do power hiking in my training. No running at all. I would incorporate some cycling, some swimming, core training, and like yoga, stretching, things like that. But I was not going to do any running at all in preparation for the race. I was only going to run during the race. And the reason why I was thinking of this plan was the majority of people who are completing ultra events and they just want to finish it, the majority of those people are spending a lot of time hiking, walking. And so my reasoning was, well, if you can't walk or hike for 50 miles or 100 miles, well, then why would you try to run for 50 miles or 100 miles? So my plan was, or my experiment for this event was going to be to see if I could basically power hike the whole event, except for a little bit of running here and there. Well, went through the first aid station in just under an hour, so I'm on track. I was getting hot with that other jacket on, or that other shirt on, so I had to take it off. So, 1 hour down, 11 more to go. Hopefully 11. There's a little road section here. I might be last now, I don't know. There's nobody behind me, but maybe there's somebody way back there. A couple of people up ahead of me. So, I'll probably have to start running pretty soon, but this is all uphill, so I'm just going to hike it. When I came up with my plan for this event, my initial goal was to power hike 75% of the race and run 25% of the race. I thought that was a reasonable amount. Looking at the time frames and the restrictions that you had to meet during the course, you know, the time cutoffs. This particular event, the North Face 50 miler at Bear Mountain, had a 14-hour time limit that you had to meet to be an official finisher of the event. So I thought that my plan of hiking at 4 miles an hour, okay, 15 minute per mile pace, would be adequate to finish this event. However, my training did not go as planned. My initial thought was that I would build up to the point where I was doing 6 or maybe 8 hour hikes leading up to the event, but life is life, and my plan didn't go as I had hoped, and the longest workouts that I was able to get in were only 3 hour hikes, okay, 12 miles. I did that on the 3 or 4 weekends before the event, and I incorporated, some swimming, some cycling, things like that in there as well. But my total exercise time during the whole week was really only probably 6 hours at best. So I ended up going into this event quite undertrained, I would have to admit, and my initial goal to complete the event in roughly 12 hours or 12 and a half hours didn't go quite as planned. Well, that wasn't too cool. A little slippery in there. Good thing I didn't take out my elbow. Or maybe I did, I just don't know it yet. Ugh. What the? Good grief. Yeah, last little slip and fall certainly filled up my shoes a little bit with some dirt. Whew. Covered up the lens a little bit too. Long uphill. So most of the uphill sections are in the first half of this race. Well, or so I'm told. That's what the race profile looked like anyway. So I think once we get to the 20 mile aid station or 21 mile aid station, the race course flattens out a little bit. But yeah, a lot of uphills. Oh, rocky. Big long technical section where you can't really run. Well, at least I can't really run. So yeah, my average pace now dropped down to 15:20 pace, and it's almost 4 hours and 50 minutes into it. So hopefully I'll be able to gain some of that back when we get through these other aid stations, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. About 32 miles in, about another hour to the next aid station, and we're on a road right now, so I can make up a little bit of time, but oof, getting tired. Hopefully I can, instead of a 12-hour time, I'm looking more like 13 hours now, so hopefully I don't totally blow up and fall apart. Guess we'll just have to wait and see. The benefits of being an efficient hiker, or power hiker in this case, is quite significant, because you can travel at a very rapid pace without putting in the effort that you do when you're running. Now my goal for this event was just to finish it. So you have to keep that in mind. I wasn't trying to win my age group. I wasn't trying to finish in the top half or whatever. I was just trying to finish it. And I was seeing if power hiking was an adequate way to train for it. Because when I look at results of ultra events, the vast majority of people, they're not running at 8-minute pace, okay? They're running very slow, 14-minute pace, 15-minute pace, whatever. You know, they're doing a lot of hiking at these events, and I think that a lot of people don't spend enough time training in a hiking mode or a power hiking mode. And that was quite evident at this race in Bear Mountain, because when I was hiking, I was either staying up with people who were running, or I was catching people who were running. People who are just, you know, doing that very slow shuffle type of run, which to me is very inefficient. You're better off just fast power hiking. And when I was running with some people during the event, when we would stop to actually hike, immediately I was hiking faster than they were, and I was gaining ground when they were walking, just walking. You know, they were not walking fast, they were walking very slow. And there was one particular runner, his name's Danny. I'll show a little clip here of him a little bit. You know, he was just finishing it. You know, he had already done a 50-mile race the previous weekend, which hats off to him. I would not do two 50-mile events in 2 weekends. So I'm sure he was obviously a little fatigued from that event, but he would run and walk, run, walk, but I was more into a power hiking mode, and so he would gain on me, but then I would catch him back up, you know, hiking, especially on the uphills. I was hiking very fast on the uphills because that's what I trained for. And in the long run, I think it helped me more at the end of the race, because this event basically became a chase for the cutoff times, and I had to do a lot more running than I had planned. And but at the end of the race, when I was tired, I was in power hiking mode, and I wanted to get to the finish to make the cutoff to be an official finisher. And Danny had somehow dropped back. He did eat some oranges, and maybe that upset his stomach. I'm not sure actually what happened to him, because I didn't see him after the event. Hopefully he did okay. But the clip I'll show you now is, I'm power hiking, and he and his friend are running, but we're basically going the same speed. So in my mind, I'm being more conservative with my energy, and I think in the long run, for an ultra event, and if people are just trying to finish it, the power hiking strategy is very beneficial. Another example of how efficient hiking is just as good as running, because I'm hiking roughly 12-minute pace right now. People up ahead are running, jogging, probably expending more energy. But in fact, I think I'm catching up to them. So I think if you're doing ultras and you're an efficient hiker, that's more important than being an efficient runner. If you're just trying to do a mid-pack finish, doing it for fun. Obviously, I'm not in this to try to win my age group or anything, but people obviously that are trying to win these races obviously need to run. But anyway, my point being is you can hike just as fast as people can run, especially on the uphills. Or yeah, mile 36 maybe, 35, 34. That's Danny back there.
How are you guys?
We've done pretty much the whole race back and forth with each other, so hopefully we'll make it to the end. To give you an idea of my plan for this event is, I started out with hiking shoes, okay, not even running shoes, but hiking shoes. These are a pair of Obos, which are great hiking shoes, and they serve their purpose, but because I came into the first hard cutoff time with only 5 minutes to spare, I realized that this day was not going to go quite as planned. I'm going to have to run a little bit more than I had thought. So when I got to the about halfway point where it had a drop bag, luckily I put my other, some running shoes in there, and then I switched over to my old North Face Leadville trail shoes. I forgot what number they are. Anyway, because I knew for the second half of the race I was going to have to run a lot more than I had planned. And these hiking shoes were not the greatest for running. They're very stiff, a little bit heavy, and they're very hard too. The impact, there's not much cushioning there for a running purpose. So I had to switch over to the running shoes to do a little more running. And how I had said previously, I did not do any running prior to this event, this year, 2018. So, the clip I'll show you now is actually my second run of the season. Okay, I can see people, I guess we run around the lake. There's people running over there. I'm actually running now for the second time this year. I'm not going to run very long, we'll see. But I might be able to run a little bit around this lake. So hope this isn't too bumpy of a video. Alright, a lot of you probably are thinking, what the hell is this guy doing? Not running at all, leading up to an ultra, and then running during an ultra event, right? Well, a little bit about my background. This is not my first ultra. Okay, I'm not an expert, but I've done 3 50Ks in the past. However, I have not competed in an ultra event in about 4 years. Because after my last ultra event in 2013, I ended up having a back injury, which, if people want to know about injury and my recovery, put a comment down below and maybe I can do another video on that whole topic. But anyway, this is my first event coming back into the ultra arena, if you will. And so I do have a long history of running background. I've been a lifetime endurance athlete ever since I was in middle school. You know, I ran cross country, I swam, I bike raced, all my whole life. And so I have years and years of experience of running and doing events, Ironman distance triathlons, things like that. So I'm not somebody who this is their very first 50-mile event and very first running event. So keep that in mind. You know, I do have a lot of experience. I know what my body can handle. I knew that if I got in this event and something wasn't right, like I was going to risk an injury, I would have dropped out. That being said, because I was undertrained and I didn't have the mileage in my legs, so to speak, before this event, should I have dropped out of this race instead of pushing myself to finish? I don't know, that's debatable. It might have been a smart thing to do, but I'm German and I'm stubborn, and when I was in the race and I knew that I was close to making these cutoff times, but I could still do it, I just went for it, and I just, I don't know. They talk in these ultra events of people going into beast mode and just going straight, tunnel vision to get to the finish. Obviously I wasn't racing, but I did have it in the back of my mind that I wanted to finish this thing. So that's what I did, and I could tell that I didn't have any aches or pains or injuries. Of course my Achilles tendons were a little sore, my knees a little sore, but I knew it wasn't anything that was damaging. I wasn't tearing a meniscus, or I wasn't straining my patellar tendons, things like that. My profession, I'm a physical therapist. I know my body, I know how the body works, so I knew what my limitations were in this event. I was able to make it to the finish line in time. I had 6 or 7 minutes to spare before the cutoff. And so I was able to finish. I was tired, but satisfied. I didn't injure myself. And overall, I think my experiment did work as far as, working on my power hiking and training. I think that's something that anybody who's doing an ultra event needs to spend time in training doing power hiking, because it's not the same as running. A lot of runners, they come from a 5K background or 10K background or marathon background. They say, oh, I can just hike in the event. I don't have to train for that. I think they're making a big mistake if they do that, because running, the mechanics are different than hiking, especially hiking uphill. Whew. Just came up one bitch of a climb. Ooh. We're probably mile, I don't know, 34? Somewhere in that ballpark. My recovery from this event, the North Face 50 mile at Bear Mountain, went extremely well. I was sore the next day, but not excessively sore. Going down the stairs was a little bit sore, as always in a long event, but a couple things I did that I think were very beneficial. Okay, I do use this product called the Vega Sport. Probably people have heard about it. They have a recovery drink and also a pre-workout energizer drink that has a lot of like turmeric and devil's claw and different things like that to help your body recover. So I use that. Also, when I got home, I did a soak, a bath soak in Himalaya salt Himalayan salt that has some essential oils in it. I think that is very beneficial for the body to help recover. And I also used some arnica oil on my knees and on my ankles. And that's just another type of oil that you can use that helps in muscle pain and recovery and things like that. I don't take any ibuprofen. I never do, and I never will, especially not during events like this. I know people do. They take ibuprofen to help with swelling or things like that. I think that's a mistake. You know, your body tells you that you're having pain for a certain reason, and if you try to mask it with some of these NSAIDs, you're asking for a problem later on, I think. I think your body can recover without the aid of these over-the-counter drugs, if you want to call them that. I think there's more natural things out there, which is what I just mentioned, like the Himalaya bath salts. And the arnica is better than taking ibuprofen, my opinion, okay? You can also use ice or things like that if you needed to. I didn't need to do any of that. And again, but you gotta keep in mind, the majority of my run was power hiking, okay? I did do probably maybe 40% running for the whole event instead of my planned 25%. But again, my running wasn't fast running. I think when I looked at my GPS watch when I was actually running, it was only a 10-minute per mile pace in that ballpark when I was actually running. So again, my running was not fast, and it was very short periods of time for my running too. I wasn't running miles and miles before I started walking. I would only run probably maybe a quarter mile at a time, and then walk, and then run, then walk. So that helped my legs recover as well. Well, made the cutoff at the last hard cutoff aid station by 10 minutes. Yeesh. So, gotta bust my ass to the finish now. 9 miles to go. Wasn't gonna film much anymore until I got to the finish, but just had the shit scared out of me by a rattlesnake. First time I ever come across one on a trail run or ride or hike or whatever, but luckily it was off to the left far enough and I jumped to my right, so yeah, gotta watch out. I yelled back to warn the other guys behind me. A final word about the North Face experience at their event is, overall I'm very pleased with the event. One of the biggest things I like about their event is the use of these cups. Okay, they didn't have any paper, plastic cups at any of the aid stations. They gave everybody one of these Hydro Pack cups that smash up. You can keep them in your pack. I think that was an excellent idea. I think every race across the country should use those. I don't care if you're doing a 5K or whatever. Have people carry a little cup like this. It's not going to slow people down, all right? They do it all over Europe. I don't know why we don't do it here in the United States, but we should, okay? It saves on a ton of just paper waste, okay? I didn't even use mine because I had bottles that I used in my pack, but I think this is a great idea, and I'm glad that North Face stepped up and is doing that. As far as the event at Bear Mountain, it was kind of a pain to do this shuttle back and forth from the start area to the one parking lot where you had to park and then get shuttled to the beginning. The problem I ran in with that is at the end, you know, I finished it a little bit before 7 o'clock at night, and then the last shuttle was supposed to be at 7:30. Well, that didn't give you much time to just recover and catch the shuttle back to your car. Now they did, I think they did extend it, and they had the last shuttle at 8. But their plan was 7:30. I thought that was way too short. The other downside of their event was their food cart that they had closed down shortly after I finished, so I didn't even get to eat. So, I mean, I had a couple, they had their little, you know, pretzels or bananas right there at the finish line, but the other food cart was closed down. Come on, North Face. You know, yes, the majority of people had already finished and they already ate, but you know, the people who spent money to register for this event and then they finish, and I'm sure there's other people that finished after I did, they don't get to eat. I think that was kind of a gross oversight on their part. But overall, I was pleased. I will probably do another one of their events. Maybe even Bear Mountain again next year with better training, maybe. We'll have to wait and see. So, thanks for watching, everybody. If you guys have any questions about anything I did in the training or anything about the race, post it down below. If you have any questions about my training or recovery or what I ate or what I used or anything like that, just post it down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. If people would like to see any other videos on things, training aspects, or anything that concerns my training or ultra running, post it down below for some ideas, and maybe we'll see what happens in the future. All right? Take care, happy running, and do some power hiking. Good job, Five Fingers. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I just barely made it. So 6:54, so that means 13 hours and 55 minutes. Whew. Thanks for your help today.
Awesome job, way to go.
Thanks.
God, could you cut it any closer? I'm a fucking wreck waiting for you. I'm like going nuts.
Hi, baby.
Hi.
Oh my God, that was a killer, because the last part they threw in a whole bunch of these really steep hills.
Oh, thanks, guys.
We saw you coming. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
Congrats, man. I saw you running in. I said, oh, is he coming? He's coming.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Oh,
It's over. That's all there is.
huh?